This is Rocket Brain Surgeon, and today we're looking at exploiting tank matchups. I'm in the Wheezy 1-4. This tank is characterized by very strong frontal armor. It's a Tier 9 Chinese heavy tank. The front turret is impenetrable. And we're looking at the matchups between different tanks, and you'll notice that it's a Tier 9 battle, and the opponents have two arty as their top tier tanks. When you look at the Tier 8 tanks, the Cairn, the FCM, the T-28 prototype, you'll notice that none of these tanks have a very strong turret. So my platoon mate and I are talking about how everyone holds the bridge, don't cross the bridge, this is Pearl River. And so both sides just kind of pile up and kind of stare at each other for the most part. However, the lineup for this game really dictates that we want to force the action in a bottleneck because nothing can really compete with my frontal armor. In fact, at the start of the replay, I even was going south because I almost never go north anymore. I just don't really have the tanks for it. And even on this tank, I take the heavy armor tanks over there. But the situation just calls for it right now. We're kind of stopping right here, just taking a little bit of a break. You don't want to run in front of your team directly into a pile of enemy tanks. So we're kind of waiting until everybody catches up, and now you can see on the minimap we're moving more as a force. I'll get out in front really quick, but you should have a good idea in your games of where you're going to meet the enemy, and at the spot we stopped, we definitely would have seen the enemy if they chose to cross the bridge. So I'm just going to pop out in front here. My teammate has told me that he has been spotted, so I'm expecting people here. I expect they're going to hide off the bridge and to the left of me. There's a tiger who is very correctly hiding most of his tank behind a rock. So everybody's dug in, and it's kind of a harder fight than I expect, but you see the rise in the bridge in front of me. This allows my lower hull to be hidden, and the upper hull for the Wheezy 1-4 bounces a lot of shots. It'll bounce tier 10 shots at the right angle. This is a pike shaped tank, which means you want to take fire directly incoming. You don't want to angle the plate at all because that will reduce the effectiveness. When I shot the tiger beforehand, I rushed the shot a little bit. Here I'm making sure to aim a lot more deliberately. You'll notice that I'm rocking back and forth. Like I said before, I am nearly impenetrable at this point, but the only way they can damage me is by hitting my hatch, and by rocking back and forth, I make it a little bit harder for them without overexposing myself. So the two direct threats in front were eliminated, and I rush across the bridge. We're only up 3-1, but you'll notice the mini-map, we've broken through to the other side. I know that there are enemy tanks hiding up front, and I'm rushing at them because there are two Su-152s that can present a real threat to us and eliminate us, so I need to light them as quickly as possible. One very important thing to note here while we start crushing the enemy team and it turns into a landslide victory very, very quickly, is that the enemy really didn't make any mistakes. They did exactly what they should have done. There was a Cairn on the other side of the bridge trying to snipe from that side of the bridge. He got my ammo rack and I've had to repair it. There was a tiger that was placing most of his tank behind a rock. There was an IS that was hull down fighting people coming over the bridge. There was arty that splashed me right as I crossed over the bridge. There are tank destroyers sitting in the forest, but you'll notice how quickly the game got out of hand for them because I was able to overcome the strengths of their tanks with the strength of my tank, and I exploited the advantage very, very vigorously. I didn't wait for anybody to tell me, hey, now is a perfect time to jump across. I just dove across that bridge right away. So if you look at the minimap, the west side has finally realized that there's only 2 or 3 tanks in front of them. I quickly killed them. I absolutely don't mind the setup the enemy chose, and I think against different opposition, they would have possibly won the game with the way they deployed their tanks and with the way they were using their tanks. Again, they didn't make any egregious mistakes. They could have been a little bit better if they decided to camp the forest a little bit higher up and focus fully on west instead of trying to do more of that bridge defense. The game isn't great from a competitive sense. We just rolled over the top of them. However, that domination was only possible because at the beginning of the game, we noticed, hey, my turret is stronger than all of these tanks' frontal armor put together. How can we best use that to our advantage? We got in a hull-down situation. The other tanks were simply overmatched by that point, and then we exploited it vigorously. Hope you enjoyed. Happy hunting.